What's up, everyone? It's NASCAR Sunday. We're back to break it all down. The Las Vegas Pennzoil 400. Las Vegas, Taco.
Yeah.
Pretty less. So the last couple of weeks, we had a lot of carnage. You know, super speedways, Atlanta, Daytona. How does Vegas compare to the last few races? Because a lot of people are new to NASCAR, and they kind of saw what happened last week. They just want to assume the same stuff is happening. I'm already getting DMs. Assuming the same stuff is going to happen again. So tell me about the Las Vegas track and how that plays relative to some of these other tracks.
Well, it kind of flips it all over on its head because the first 2 weeks here, we've changed the schedule. So it's 2 straight super speedways. And the guys in the rear are scoring more than the guys up front. As you can see here, you really don't want to play anyone starting 30th or back for the most part. As we're the first 2 weeks of the season, you could easily play 2 or 3 guys starting 30th or worse. Daytona, you could play like 4, and that's a perfectly fine strategy.
Look at what Taco's referring to is this column right here, averages by 5 starting positions. This is, of course, available on the DFS Army Domination Station. Oh, no, the Research Station, which I believe is the strongest tool for NASCAR that you can have. But take a look at this is under DK average start, and you can see here 36 through 40, 17. Like the scoring is inverted. Drivers starting higher score the most, and it goes down as they go back. Now, there's a double reason for that, Taco, as you know, one of which is the better drivers tend to qualify well.
Yep. And qualification actually matters with this track.
Yeah. And then the shitty drivers tend to be in the back. And you see in the super speedways, this chart gets inverted because it's all place diff. So this seems like a track that's like the polar opposite.
Yeah, this is your pretty standard 1.5 mile intermediate track. There isn't going to be the close groups of drafting cars like in the first 2 weeks. It's going to be pretty well spread out. On average, you get just about 50% of the field finishing a lap or more down. So you could expect like 18 cars on the lead lap on the end. So it really does separate the men from the boys here, or at least the rich from the poor.
And again, just speaking to what I said at the beginning, isn't there going to be, Dixon Sider just remembers last week. Oh, it's crashes everywhere. That's what NASCAR is.
Well, there are going to be multiple crashes just going off of the caution prop, which is at 7.5 right now. You take 2 of those away for the stage breaks. Expecting between 5 and 6 cautions on Vegas. That's an even line. So we've seen some Las Vegas races get a little dicier. For the most part, it's the 7th most stable track as far as percentage of the race that's run under caution. That's pretty low in that regard overall. And yeah, it's one of the more just consistent kind of tracks. So really, since the switch to the next gen car, it's just been all Hendrick, just dominating everything. And it looks to be that way again because they are heavily favored over any other team.
Love it all. So just large scale view of this, so everybody understands. We're bringing it in, so everybody understands. This is one of the safer tracks. Does not mean that there won't be crashes. There's going to be crashes. People, your favorite driver probably going to get knocked out, but it's fewer. It's much fewer than what we've seen the last few weeks. It's wildly difficult to predict it because these are going to be like 2-car crashes, maybe 3 at the most. To get a couple of those, you get a couple of guys losing a tire, get a caution because of that. So it's not the same as these monster pileups that you see on a super speedway where they're drafting. These cars are not really drafting. They're not going to be in a line. They're not going to be all bunched up together. They're going to be wide apart. And as you said, some drivers are just going to start falling laps behind if the car is slow. They're just going to be like, 1 or 2 laps behind. A big part of what we need to do is make sure that we pick all drivers that are on the lead lap. I don't recall too many situations where drivers not on the lead lap get there. Now, I want to show this one chart here because I noticed something interesting, Taco. I did my research, DYOR. Do your own research, right? It's not financial advice. You got to do your own research. So I did my own research, and I noticed something really, really interesting. Check this out. Okay, so we have the data from the last 6 versions of this race, And I noticed a really interesting trend.
You want to look at the last 4 because that's specifically the ones in the next gen. So 2023, 2022.
Those are the key ones, right? So check this out. This is the highest scoring drivers from the most recent race. Look at the start position. We got a guy starting first and a guy starting second, both in the nuts. That's rare, right? That's a combo that a lot of times you're like, I'm avoiding it. 2 in the top 10, and then here we go, 3 and 4 in the top, really 5 out of 6 in the top 15 on the most recent track. And then, and of course, you had Suarez, who looked like the nuts, like cheapy, didn't even make the starting lineup in that one, or barely got there. Probably was in the nuts, actually.
We need him for the optimal X.
Yeah, he was in the optimal
guys there,
but yeah, and even there, Kyle Busch and Truex starting 6th and 4th. Just note what happened, which is that these drivers starting in the front scored the most. So second and first place in the nuts. And then let's go back one more race, right? Let's do another one.
Yeah, and you'll notice the guys who come from the rear and end up scoring well are your guys like Suarez, like Reddick, who are like playoff drivers, not just like random guys.
You did have Justin Haley have an incredible finish in one of these, and he got there. But once again here, 2nd place and 6th place, both in the nuts, 2 top 10. We got a couple more in the top
3, all Hendrick across the board.
Crazy.
The only non-Hendrick in here was Elliott because he was injured. I think this was one of the first races that Barry took over, and he was like running back in the 30s, just getting used to it.
Yeah.
This race last spring, complete green flag race. There was 2 wrecks, just 2 solo car spinouts. I think Logano got into the wall and ended his night, but it wasn't. It was like a green flag still. They didn't throw the caution for him, but just long green flag runs, nothing but Hendrick.
Remember
the last 3 races.
Remember the name. Willie Byron, Kyle Larson. These names come up a lot in the top groups. Let's go back another race. Okay, here we go. This is 2022. And in this one, this is so we got Logano got there, led a little bit. This one's a little bit of a weird one.
Yeah, it was well spread out.
Very spread out. Like even the domination, the I don't know, the lead laps just went all over the place. In that race. I don't know what happened. Actually, I don't know where the hell are the lead laps. I don't know. But that was a weird one. We still had a couple of guys starting up, but that was a bit of a place diff. But more so what happened in that one was just you had Hamlin starting in 31st and Truex 27th. You had such studs for some reason starting in the back. There's probably no
notably Hendrick wasn't fast in this race.
Yeah, it's going back a little bit further. But we get right back to it. Here again. So this was the first one where it was pretty close to all place. And again, this is 2022, and I kind of remember not having much practice that year. And I think that's a little bit of what was going on here. These guys were being seeded based on like what they did in Daytona.
You did have 3 of the Hendrick guys finish top 5 in this one, and 1 win the race. So it's 3 of the last 4 that we're looking at that Hendrick has absolutely dominated.
Yeah. And go back even a little bit further, even different cars, though, but same results. Another scenario where most of the nuts drivers came from the front of the pack, not the rear. And, of course, you had the Dominator score the most points. Another trend I'm noticing here, Taco, 2 Dominators.
Yep.
I think so in terms of domination station settings here, this may be at least 2 Dominators situation.
I think you can do that as long as you mark some certain guys as doms. Like I think that Reddick could be a 2nd dom, or Chastain starting like 18th, starting 20th. Even Hamlin, if things shake out fast enough.
Yeah, I don't know about Hamlin.
It'll take him a minute, but I could see him leading stage 3.
So let's talk a little bit about practice times, and then we'll get into the breakdown. We've got the practice times and of course the odds on this track. So let me slide over here. I have to recopy this. This is from last night. Darn. All right. You know what? Pull this off for a second. So tell me a little bit about the practice times as I refresh my my page here.
So it's kind of an interesting situation with those. This whole weekend, we've had some extreme wind gusts of up to 70 miles per hour. In the Xfinity race, for example, they didn't put any camera crews up high just for the risk of them being like thrown off the balcony or whatever, just with those massive winds. So it's been a pretty weird weekend overall. The winds have died down a little bit. You're still getting gusts of like 30, 40 at this race, but it's not as bad as the last 2 days you've had to deal with this. So that's kind of throwing a wrench in things, and it's not entirely certain how that's going to affect things. I mean, in the lower series, it kind of like gave an advantage to the veterans, but most of these guys here are veterans, kind of know how to work this sort of thing. Really, what the difference I've seen between this race and last race was, last season, the 2 races where Hendrick guys just demolished. They were on top of the practice charts for the entire thing, but there's a bit of a practice gap of like 0.3 seconds on average between practice group A and practice group B. So practice group A was significantly easier. So you got to note who was in practice group B. Like Larson wasn't up there. He's like 9th in practice or whatnot, but he was like the best of group B. So it's going to come across a little bit skewed.
Interesting. So those times are a little deceiving. I'm really glad to hear it, because I was seeing some stuff in the practice times that was making me a little bit sketchy. So give me who practice group A, it looks like Reddick, Wallace. I got to sort this. I'm not happy with the way that looks. All right, hang on.
This is just sorted by the best 10 lap speed. So and pretty much everyone got that. So it's sort of long run speed here, just who's fastest overall.
So Kyle Larson fastest in B. Willie Byron right there. Chase Elliott.
All the Hendrick guys.
Chase Elliott's not been very good lately. There he goes. Logano, the pole sitter. How about Noah Gragson? What the hell's up with that?
Yeah, I'm not really sure what to make of that in the old Almirola car, because Almirola is always like a 15th place guy here. Yeah, not really sure what to make of that, but I don't want to go too hard on that. Like, he's still a really good play, because as you'll see with this slate, like, you're kind of broke on this slate. It's a real budgety kind of slate, because you're paying up for Hamlin, Larson, and you need to go really cheap to make that work. Gragson is so cheap and starting so far back. Probably not going to let these times mess with you, but of course it's going to make him very popular. He's not going to be
certainly. I mean, if
but
you're given
like a lack of plays down low, you'll see as you go through the slate.
I'm just saying, like, given the chance to take Gragson super cheap, who was the fastest, or like, Kaz Grala super cheap, who was fucking slow as shit, or even Killer Priest, who was super slow. What the hell happened to Killer Priest? I don't know, but only ran a couple laps there. But why not take the guy who was fast? Normally I go with Gilliland. Looks like he was really slow.
Yeah. So last week we saw those front row guys, Gilliland and McDowell, be ultra fast, and that was their new alliance with Penske on full display. They look like some of the fastest cars. I think Gilliland led the most laps. I can't really expect that out of them this week, especially at a spot where Penske has kind of struggled, and front row also has struggled at this track type. A lot of the Fords ended up qualifying really high. They trimmed their car out and got, you see a bunch of them, like the front 3 rows, but outside of the Hendrick cars, I see most of them moving backwards. I mean, Logano on the pole, he's got Larson right there starting second. And historically, this track has actually been very kind to the second place starting driver. They're averaging like significantly more points over the first place. It's kind of a consistent trend here.
Let's look at the odds real quick. The win odds. I love the top 10 odds. They're less dramatic. But let's take a look at the win odds. So it looks like Kyle Larson, Willie B, number 1 and 2. Let's see here. Logano on the pole. Really less good odds than everybody else. Little surprise here, I'm going to say, with Christopher Bell being the 4th.
Yes, he dominated this race last year.
Okay.
Like, he was the second Dominator right behind Larson.
That's fair. We got Wallace and Reddick kind of surprising, right up there with kind of the rest of them. There's no real difference between 13, 14, and 15 to 1. These are all the same.
Yeah, the 23XI guys, they just had the best practice times in Group A. So I think that would be kind of popular based on that, especially like Reddick with play stiff to work with. But Reddick also just has been good at these 1.5, as you can see.
But so has Bubba, though. Bubba's been fine. He's got a nice track history. So, Bubba, look, track history, 3rd place, 6th place, very recent.
Well,
Reddick,
those are the recent runs at 1.5s.
At one point, where's this track? Hold on. Yeah, here we go. So yeah, Bubba got a 4th place recently. Got Reddick, that's Chastain. Chastain's another one who looks good, but Reddick 8th and 15th. Let's see who's been good here. Looks like Bell 2nd and 5th recently. That's those odds. Kyle Busch has a 3rd place. Chase Elliott's been ass here. Logano has not been good here. Willie Byron, and of course Kyle Larson. I mean, these guys stand out. The one guy I think that is really interesting, the way the track history works, is Denny Hamlin, who's going to be crazy popular. You know, maybe fadeable. We'll see. I don't know.
He's really expensive, and that's going to kind of come into play here. Like, I could see people moving off of Hamlin for like a Keselowski type, or even Kyle Busch, just because you get really broke really quick. And if you scroll down, you can see after Bowman, the plays just drop in quality like severely. There's like a giant ocean of like no good plays in like the 6K range.
Look at the top 10 odds here. Like, who can really have a chance to get there and hang?
Yeah, that's why Gragson sticks out so much.
Yeah, and with that good time, I think Gragson's going to just wind up being heavily owned. Yeah, Cindric is starting where?
He's starting like 3rd.
That's why he's getting that number. And you got Ty Gibbs is really interesting for cheap, by the way. But was he 8th? Yeah. Rough, but he was fast too. Was Ty Gibbs the fastest, or like he was one of the fastest in his group? He must have been Group A. Yeah, he must have been that shitty group, because he's right up there.
His practice times are a little bit boosted.
I like take a shot there, but I like taking a shot there with Gibbs. And then there's Ross Chastain, who hasn't really made a lot of noise lately, but decent in 1.5 last year. Pretty decent here.
This whole range is going to be vital, because it's probably pretty hard to get 4 plays at like 8K and above, even though you'd want to, especially if you're going Larson. But that 3rd play, of course, is going to be like a Keselowski or a Bowman, a Chastain, Reddick. Like, that makes a really solid lineup.
Let's look through the unfriend you zone here. Yelly is an unfriend you. Get out. This is not a track, by the way. Again, this is not a track where I'm looking for carnage plays. If you play a driver starting further back, you're not playing that for carnage. You're playing like to discover the hidden gem that hangs on the lead lap. It's not a carnage play. We're going to have to live in this zone here. You're going to have a couple of these guys too. So that's going to be really interesting. So any other thoughts here on the research station information?
So this is one of the lowest carnage 1.5 mile tracks, right there with Chicago, just going off the historical data here. So yeah, we should definitely not be looking for carnage plays.
Yeah, no carnage plays. So the guys starting from the back again, or the play stiff guys, you really want ones that will actually have a fast enough car to hang around and move forward and be in the lead groups. Who those guys are, hopefully we'll figure some of that out.
Another warning about guys starting in the back is this is the worst 1.5 mile track for fantasy point scoring on DraftKings for drivers starting 30th or worse.
What do you think about this idea that Chevy's pouring money into the Spire team now, and maybe Spire won't be as ass as they've been in the past?
But they've also got to work on like that new big truck team they just acquired, and there's a lot going on. I mean, we can wait and see. I like Zane Smith. I believe in Zane Smith quite a bit, and Hocevar is good towards the end of last year. Just don't really know what to expect, and the odds at 200, 250 to 1. I mean, LaJoy would be nice if he wasn't starting up so high. You kind of know what you're going to get with LaJoy at this track type. He's just going to finish dead smack in the middle of the field. I think Zane Smith would be like the one playable one of those guys.
So there's no Carson Hose in this house for you this week?
I mean, they're very much not Hocevar, no, but some of these plays that don't look very good, just with the lack of plays around them. Like if you're trying to fade like Gragson or Priest or whatever down here, try to avoid the 30s and back. Like there are so few plays that even look decent that some of the really mid-looking plays like Austin Dillon start to look appealing. As we're, Austin Dillon starting 19th and will probably just finish like 15th usually, like the slow practice times. That's usually not appealing at all. It's just there's nowhere else you kind of want to go because like Hendrick's a bad play. Briscoe's a bad play. Stenhouse, LaJoy, like all these guys have overqualified to the point where kind of makes Nemechek and Dillon look a little bit better in that huge, vast ocean of nothingness. Man, that is the 6K range.
I'm thinking range. The two that are popping for me here are Gregson and Priest.
Yeah, but I almost want to kind of limit Priest because, I mean, historically, this has been just absolutely awful for guys starting in the rear. They just get lapped and they get stuck like multiple laps down. It's kind of the trend. Although I do believe in the equipment of Priest.
Absolutely. All right, let's jump into the cheat sheets here and we'll talk through these drivers top to bottom. Remember, if you're enjoying this breakdown, guys, smash that like button. Let us know you're out there. Who are you picking? Who are you building around this weekend? And for my DFS Army people, of course, we got to talk a little Domination Station Optimizer, how to set up. We'll talk a little bit about that again throughout the breakdown. And I'll show some basic setup things here at the end. But this is, again, at least 2 Dominators. I might force 3. Taco, I may force 3 from the top 20 here, at least. I like the idea. Just what I've seen in the past tracks tells me a lot of the winners are not going to be coming from the back row. And so I kind of like it. And I also think
3, because that may hurt your exposure to guys like Bowman or Keselowski if you do that.
I don't know about Keselowski, but I might include Bowman in that group.
Yeah, and then that kind of makes it weird. Like we're counting guys from the back of the pack as Dominators. Like, what are we doing at that point? It's
almost just avoiding Hamlin. I'm getting a weird sense that Hamlin at 28 for that price, is the one that's going to burn you. Not because he's not going to
safe to get back up to the front. I just don't like how he really hasn't been finishing like top 3 here. You look back at his track history.
He's not. He's averaged like a top 10 finishes, which is fine.
Yeah, before the next gen car, he's been pretty decent. It's just
I love my play
expensive, and it makes this whole slate way easier if you don't play him.
I love my play stiff, Taco. You know this. You know me.
And he's about as safe as it gets for someone that's certainly going to make his way towards the top of or towards the front of the field at the end of the race. Like,
should be in your cash lineup.
One driver, it's probably going to be Hamlin or Larson for like safest guy to get back up there, like a Byron.
But the question with Hamlin is, will he dominate? The evidence shows that Denny Hamlin moving from 28th to 9th is going to score really well, but
it's not going to score 70 plus like we're trying to aim for with these expensive guys.
That's right. And there's a good chance that two drivers are going to be in that 69 to 79 points range. And so if that's not going to be that guy, and it's going to be 2 expensive guys, and you can only play 2, there's only 2 available to us, but before your salary runs out, it could get weird. It could get weird with him. And when you're playing him, you have to give up on Kyle Busch, who's starting 21st. Like, not that much worse. Ross Chastain, who's starting 20th, kind of the same. Tyler Reddick, 18th. Like, is this really that different from 28th is what I'm saying. Like, Denny's got another 8 points built into his final score. Big shit. Like, that's 3 positions at the end. So basically, if Chastain finishes 7th and Hamlin finishes 10th, I think Chastain is still winning that battle.
He had a much higher value, and the value matters a lot more this week. Yeah. Coming off of multiple weeks where we're leaving salary on the table. It's going to be hard to leave salary on the table here this week.
Dooley, this is a good race for you. Dooley loves to bet the races. This is a bettable one. So this one is more bettable. Less carnage.
I think we don't want too much place differential, just given like this. Again, this is the worst 1.5 mile track for guys starting 30th or worse. They're just going to get lapped here. They get lapped kind of early and often.
There's nothing worse than when your guy gets lapped on this track.
Well, it's going to happen to over half of the field.
I've lived this, Taco. It's not a good feeling at all. And I'm going to tell you why. because they're not getting back onto the front lap. There's no fucking cautions. Once they're back, you're screwed. You're like, shit. I hope let's get a lucky dog. It never.
Yeah, they are putting out 5.5 cautions for us, which is a really good amount.
I don't even know if we're
some Las Vegas races getting kind of fucky, but that was mostly pre-next gen. We've seen it kind of calm down since the switch to the next gen. I don't know.
I love Kyle Larson, man. In this,
this is the first time we've seen these cars actually race not at a super speedway all season. So kind of wait and see.
I think we go back to what we saw last year.
Yeah, and last year what did we see? Just Hendrick 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, go back to what we saw last year. It was working. It was working in practice. All the evidence is these Hendrick cars are going to be awesome. And again, who's Hendrick? You've got Larson. You've got Willie B. Chase Elliott was the sort of dark horse of Hendrick last season. Not that good.
Yeah, he got injured early on the season, missed the spring race here. Took him a while to recover. Just ended up having a pretty poor season, but looking to bounce back this year. His ownership's going to be really low. I think Brady likes Elliott a lot in this spot.
We'll take a look at that. Bowman, of course, 23rd. Again, Bowman is cheap.
Super cheap.
Denny Hamlin. Bowman is instead of Denny Hamlin. He started 23rd. Hamlin's 28th. Hendrick car, same car.
He won this. He's won this race in this next gen car back in 2022.
Are there any? Is it 23XI associated with Hendrick?
No, they're associated with JGR.
So is anybody associated with Hendrick? Like, who is Hendrick pulling along with them? Who else was good last year at this?
Kind of, sort of Trackhouse.
Trackhouse. Okay. So
Trackhouse has been great here. Like Chastain has 3 top 5s in the 4 they've run.
Yeah, D Swaz is one of the GPP guys. Like, you never know.
Suarez probably off of 1 million cervezas after last week, I would imagine.
Yeah. You're thinking Modelo, or
you can see with him, like, is his 80-1 odds? Like, it's such a massive cliff after Bowman.
That is something to pay attention to. How the odds cliff happens right there. You get one more Ty Gibbs, but he's starting 8th, and you don't like it. And then it just goes to shit. I'm actually surprised. Yeah, Eric Jones doesn't look the best here. You know, can't play McDowell. So, all right, let's get into this. So, right at the top, of course, Larson to me and Bowman, 2nd and 4th. These, for me, are the guys that I think have the best chances of leading lots of laps, especially early, but just in general. What do you think, Taco?
Yeah, because look at all the Fords that just kind of overqualified here, like Logano, you have Briscoe, Hendrick starting 3rd, of course. These guys aren't really going to stick around. I don't see Logano maybe because he's pretty decent at this track, but it's going to be the Hendrick cars sooner or later. They're working together up front, like assuming things go as planned, and who knows, maybe some other team has found something over the off season. We don't really know. We only have the practice session to go off of, but assuming things go to plan, it should just be Larson and Byron running up front again until unless there's like evidence something different is going to happen, and Vegas is showing that they're incredibly favored over any other team. Chevy's heavily favored. I think it's like 50-50 Chevrolet versus the field in this race. So obviously we got to look to Hendrick cars first, and of course Larson is going to be like the big super mega chalk play that you got to spend up a whole lot for. But I see Byron, and again Brady's big on Elliott. I'm pretty big on Bowman just being like good value alongside Larson. Are we seeing was the race from 2022 where the top 3 cars were all Hendrick?
Yeah, and speaking of Hendrick, or not Hendrick, but JGR here, sandwich between the 2 Hendrick guys, Denny Hamlin, D. Ham.
Yeah, you play him and you can get like one more Dominator option, then you just got to punt. It's kind of the issue I have with him is that like I like the play. I think he's gonna finish top 5 probably. He's gonna have a really, really insane floor. So I kind of put him more as like just a cash play, obviously, or just a safer play for a lineup that's got other risk being taken in it. But I kind of like the financial freedom of just taking like a Larson and then like 3 guys in that low 8K range, and then 2 punts. I kind of like that lineup construction is just better.
Yeah, the math is really going to come into play here in terms of, again, Hamlin's a great scorer, but for his salary, I'm trying to think of a fantasy football analogy to this, where it's just a guy who puts up good scores most of the time, but probably doesn't have the ceiling to win it. And when you pay all the way up for that, picture really what was McCaffrey for a lot of the season, priced at 10K and putting up 30 points every week, like consistent.
28. So I think he can win it. I just don't think he'll break the slate like a Larson could. Like Larson could score 130 fantasy points. Hamlin can't get to the lead fast enough to do that. Most of the time, he's going to be a pretty good value here.
If Hamlin gets to the lead and holds lead laps starting 28th, he will be in the nuts. I promise you.
It takes a lot longer to get to the front than the super.
But again, like if he does that, stages. He will be in the nuts. It's just like, man, that's asking a lot. So, and he's going to be the chalk. So I don't say full fade, but that's a guy I think you can, maybe go below the field on in tournaments and maybe load up on him in cash. Let's continue on through some of these spots. Blaney starting 15th. Okay. It's a little expensive. Is he, I don't know. Doesn't really pop for me, but
I just don't like his upside because he finishes like consistently well here. But like I said, he has 9 top 7 finishes here, but he's never finished better than 5th.
Needs to dominate.
Yeah. And it's not really what he's done here.
Yeah. These guys who are expensive, if they don't dominate, you are fucked. They need to lead laps. Speaking of a potential dominator and a potential fade here, Joey Logano, you got to mark as a fade. Listen, he's starting on the pole. This is a place where, it's not out of the realm of shit that could happen, that like a pole sitter just hangs out and all of a sudden leads 100 laps.
If you're playing both sides, he is just infinitely better suited for FanDuel. He's way cheaper. Like he's super cheap on FanDuel. He struggles with fast laps. That's why his DraftKings scoring is down. Fast laps don't count on FanDuel. I would say just play him in FanDuel if you're playing both. For DraftKings, I mean, there is a good chance that he could run well. Like he has a good, strong history of doing well at this track, but most of us before the next gen car, he hasn't looked anywhere as impressive in the next gen car. I think he's just been really good at qualifying and using his fancy speed gloves to put up a good qualifying time, as he's been on the front row for every single race so far this season, going all the way back to the Clash. He just knows how to hot lap, but I don't like that for DraftKings because he would need to lead like 40, 50 plus and have a good finish. And like Larson, Byron, they have like way more upside in that regard. And I think he's going to go a bit over owned with him being the pole sitter. That's what we've seen all weekend.
The over owned is the part that excites me. If Logano truly is going to be 27% owned, there's a couple spots here that are fadeable that are approaching 30% ownership. Mm-hmm. So somebody asked at the beginning of this breakdown, like, Kev, how do you use the domination station to win? How do you set it up? It's not necessarily the dom station per se, but one of the ways you want to win is by taking strategic fades and taking a shot and understanding, hey, if I'm wrong, I'm toast, but that's how you win tournaments, especially if you're going to do 20 max. Like you got to be 100% on a couple drivers, but you also can zero out some spots. So who that's going to be, I leave that up to you guys. But, you want to fade that pole sitter and maybe fade 20, 25, 30% ownership. I think it's reasonable to do, especially at that price. But again, if you do it and Logano's leading more than 25, 30 laps, you're probably going to start rightfully sweating and being nervous. All right. So you said Brady likes Chase Elliott. Hasn't done much.
Yep.
But he's in the Hendrick car.
It's that ownership. That's pretty much it in the Hendrick car. He looked to be right there with his teammates in practice.
That's fair. Let's see what Brady had to say about him. Let's take a look here. Love this play. Fastest of the Hendrick cars on the long run, and we're getting closer to prime Chase Elliott. I think he competes for the win. There you go. Dooley, if you want kind of a long shot here at 16-1, that's one potential pick. Kyle Busch starting 21st. Again, kind of similar to the Hamlin play, a little cheaper. It's been pretty good.
Oh, this is just one of his best tracks. He almost always finishes top 3 here.
Nothing wrong with that.
Hasn't led very many laps here recently at all, especially at this track type. Like last year, he struggled significantly at the 1.5 mile track type. So kind of gives me a little pause, but he's more of a play stiff play anyway. You're comparing him to Hamlin, most likely.
Let's see here. Track history, 3rd, 14th, 3rd, 4th, 3rd, 3rd, 6th.
Yeah, this is his home track.
Recent 1.5 mile for Kyle Busch. Yeah, Las Vegas, that 3rd place, but then, a lot of mediocrity last season out of Kyle Busch, except for here, which he seems to do well. So that does certainly make sense. Yeah, good starting point. Was fast in practice. Not a whole lot not to like here. Kyle Busch, let's see the practice time again. I think he was, well, you can't look at this.
He's pretty pedestrian in that B group.
He's in the middle of the B. All right, so there you go. There you go. Christopher Bell. A lot of people like Bell. Let's see. Odds to win better than Kyle Busch at 11-1. Less ownership. Starting higher. Has some Dominator potential here.
He absolutely crushed here last year. 61 lead laps, 39 fast laps. Started off the pole. Was able to lead for a good amount. Eventually, obviously, Larson got past him, but he ran top 3 all race. And the last 1.5 mile track we've been to at Homestead, he won that. He started getting really good at these intermediate tracks towards the playoffs last year. Ended up finishing with finishes of 8th, 4th, 2nd, and then it culminated with the 1st at Homestead. So he's in good form for like the track type, probably more than anyone.
This whole area here is pretty nice looking. I think that if you're going to play a couple of these guys, which is very good, you kind of want you're going to want, like, just overall lineup construction. You kind of want Bowman in most of your lineups, and then it's like, all right, 1 or 2. You can't afford. I don't think you could afford a Bowman and 2 of these and 1 of these. I think you cannot do that. Maybe you could, but I don't think it's possible. But that would be my ultimate.
You have to say what's up to JJ Yeley.
No,
I don't think you want to be doing that.
No. JJ Yeley is in. I actually put him on my do not call list. He's blocked.
Oh no,
I can't even speak to him. If I wanted to say hello to JJ Yeley, the number of buttons I'd have to push on my social media platforms just in order to unblock him would take way too long. No Yelly for me, but that would be the ultimate, but I don't think you could pull it off. So we'll see again how the numbers come together. But Truex fade, meh, just type the words meh if you're taking notes next to Truex. He's fine, but meh.
I mean, JGR is that 2nd best team pretty firmly, probably like right there with, I'm gonna lump 23XI in there. Just the Toyotas seem to be the clear 2nd tier below Hendrick. Over the Fords based on what we can see.
I feel like Trackhouse is the 2nd tier.
I don't know. It was just in practice. The 23XI Toyota's kind of crushed. I think Trackhouse is solid 3rd.
And yeah, we'll
really
give it the 23XI.
It's not Suarez.
The
23XI by himself there.
Not the JGR. The 23XI guys, but yeah, Truex is going to be, he'll have some ownership. He's got a big name, and he's a good driver. I would try to be under that 18% personally. On him, it doesn't really stand out. Chastain though, starting 20th. Chastain and Reddick. Do you have a preference?
I do slightly prefer Reddick over Chastain. He's a little bit cheaper and super, super fast in practice, and really just at 1.5s in general. He ended the season with a win at Kansas, 25th at Texas, but 8th at Las Vegas, 3rd at Homestead. Pretty good track history here of mostly 4 top 8s in his last 5 runs here. Just kind of trusting the speed, because that's all we've seen this entire year is that practice time. And I know it was a little bit scuffed with the wind and stuff, but we just don't have a whole lot to go off of. It's being the first time that we've seen these teams at the intermediate track. So yeah,
go off of last year a little bit too. I mean,
last year's teammate Bubba also had a real breakout season at the intermediate tracks. They've got a lot of speed. They look pretty good. I like Reddick, of course, much more than Bubba because of where he's starting. Got that place differential baked in, but can also get fast laps. Pretty good at getting fast laps.
If you had to make an argument for Bubba, no one's going to have any Bubba, dude.
You're playing FanDuel and you want a cheap play because he is so much cheaper than his teammate. He's like $3K cheaper.
It's just as good of a play on FanDuel, probably a better play on FanDuel even than Reddick is.
Yeah, and him starting up high actually makes a lot of sense for FanDuel, and he's like a really good value over there. Chastain also very cheap on FanDuel.
I feel like playing on FanDuel now that this is a race, by the way.
Yeah, there's a big price difference between the two sides that we don't usually see.
Let me get into this. This is a race like last week's race. I don't like the super speedways on FanDuel at all. That style and the play, the whole thing just doesn't work for me. It's hard to strategize. I'm like fucking guess. This is a track where FanDuel is like, yeah, it's better for FanDuel this one because you're just picking finishing positions. So these guys and they're cheap, they're weirdly priced. I think they actually incorrectly priced a lot of these guys on FanDuel. So, for whatever that's worth, it seems like FanDuel is a good spot to play. But yes, their contests do suck. Yes, they do. Larson, Elliott, Bowman. Can you do Larson, Elliott, Bowman, Reddick with Gragson and Preece? Yeah,
that's the thing. It's going to be very popular if you have like those two specific punts because they're just probably going to be shoved in by optimizers everywhere. It's like the clear best plays down there.
It's just going to be that. I think this is the important part actually of the
But yeah,
the breakdown.
Getting 4 guys that are like Bowman or better is going to be good generally.
But the question is, how do you make it work? And by the way, it might even work with these guys not on the first lap if like that's the way things go. Like if you get enough points out of these top dogs, then it might just be a 30 and a 32 out of the turds that is all you needed to round out a good lineup.
Here's the problem. How often do they get 30?
Oh, man, it's rare.
Very rarely. I think if you're starting in the back here, if you're starting the very back, you only have like a 20% chance to break 20 and like a 10% chance to break 30.
I think Hilla Priest has a shot at it, dude.
Yeah.
36.
He's got better equipment than most like last place guys, but even still, 36 is probably just getting lapped. I don't know how. I don't think he's going to be that fast. You have to be really fast to avoid getting lapped here.
I definitely think he's going to get lapped. Let's start there. Yeah. But if there are only 25 cars on the first lap,
that's why I have him just marked for cash. I think he's great for cash.
Yeah,
you can't go backwards. But for GPP, I'm not as thrilled about him as I am like a Gragson.
Ownership about the same, but Gragson had a fast car. So yeah, but who else? So let's just jump past this shit. We already know we like Bowman, and now we've got all these other guys that are kind of in a weird price point. I don't really want to spend actually too much time on it. Yeah, Suarez, I think is I think all of these guys are fine. All right, out of this group, all right, I'm just gonna tell you, I unfriend you. Usually my unfriends turn into the nuts lineup, by the way, so pay attention. But Ty Gibbs, actually, I don't mind you. I don't mind you. I kind of like Ty Gibbs at 8th. I'm feeling weird about that.
Way better odds than everyone else in the 7K range.
Yeah, I'm feeling like better. I kind of like
and
Ty
Hendrick
Gibbs
is
here.
Fake. Like there's no way we're playing Hendrick.
It's more of a price thing. Like, what if he just hangs around the top 10?
Yeah. Or he had a top 10. I think his last 1.5.
I don't mind it.
He came 7th at Homestead.
I think it's dangerous, but kind of fun. Yeah. Another one that's dangerous but kind of crazy is Austin Cindric. Like, if this dude is somehow in the top 5 at the end of this race, he's probably not getting lapped. Like, if you want to talk about a guy who's probably not getting lapped, the problem is if he falls back too far. Like, I don't think you hold 3rd. Cindric is not going to hold 3rd. But if he did,
he was 6th in the spring race here last year. After that, he pretty much finished 20th or worse at every intermediate track for the rest of the year.
I mean, if you're making 170, having 3 or 4 lineups with him, it's not going to kill anybody. Chase Briscoe's the same deal, like starting 6th. It's really gross. You got Ricky Stenhouse. You know what? Again, fade or not? I would say this about Ricky.
I say just because we've seen consistently over the last 3 or 4 years, like he'll have like a randomly fast car at these 1.5 miles. You see like top 10s kind of spattered amongst his recent history of this track type. And other than that, it's not looking good. He runs in the 20s, but like he had a 9th at Texas, he had a 7th at Nashville. 2022, he had 3 straight top 10s at 1.5 miles. We haven't seen it from him recently, but back in 2020, 2019, we saw him have top 5 finishes here, and he just had a randomly good car. You're kind of taking a shot in the dark on that happening, and really banking on him not getting lapped starting up so high.
Yeah.
Just to be like a cheap play, but usually you're never playing a Ricky Stenhouse starting 13th. Like, that's just a horrible play. It's just all the other plays in this range are horrible too.
That's my thought. I don't think you're going to get a big scorer in this group, so might as well.
Most of the play stiff guys are scary because they had really bad practice times, like Gilliland, like John Hunter Nemechek had pretty slow practice times.
He was terrible in practice. A lot of people like John Hunter Nemechek.
He wasn't as bad as it looks. He was in that B group, but yeah, it wasn't great. It's just in this range, anyone would look good.
I think it's listen, he did not look very good. 150-1, starting 27th. This absolutely looks like a guy who's going to get lapped.
Yeah, I think we mainly focus in on Gragson here.
This is so gross. Can Colo hang around? I feel like Colo can
just finish his 20th every 1.5. I mean,
yeah, but like
his upside is what, 15th? That would be like a career day for him.
I feel like Spire, Taco, I'm telling you, I feel like Spire got a little more money.
Yeah.
They got that cream now. That's the team that I'm looking at, that I'm kind of thinking maybe we'll get some surprises. You know how every year.
I hope it happens to Zane. That's what I'm playing.
You like Zane there, 24th, and that's fine. And he's much cheaper. And I'll that's another one. I think you could play a little bit of it.
Because if you recall, like guys starting 5th through 25th all score around the same on the chart. So starting right there in that top 25, probably right at the point where he won't get lapped, or at least he won't get lapped for a good while. But he has a decent enough chance to stay on the front row. As where if you play the guys in the 30s, you already know they're getting lapped. It's just a matter of how many laps are going down.
Unless Killer Priest just comes out fucking full killer, got the hood thingy on, he's got the do-rag going. It's like, fuck it.
I'd be more optimistic of his chances if it was a short track. He's more of a short track guy, really.
Yeah. But 36 is interesting with him.
Yeah. He had a few top 15s of this track type last year. But I think he had qualified really high in that.
The nuts play might be what you're talking about. Instead of going all the way back with the Killer Priest, you look at Zane, who's starting 24th, and no one wants to play that guy starting 24th. But because he may be starting 24th, he kind of hangs around, doesn't get lapped. And next thing you know, end of the race, he's 19th, 18th place, and you're like, holy shit, he's in the nuts.
He's a good driver. I like him long term.
So. Again, they leveled up the Spire car. Hocevar, you can't play him. There's no hose in this house for this week. Can't start a guy. He's too high up. He's going to go backwards, where Zane Smith has a chance to go forward. So if they both finish 20th and 19th, the guy moving backwards is going to score shit. And the one who's moved up is going to get that 31-32 that we need out of our cheapies to be in the nuts play.
Yeah, I think we would need, honestly, for like in GPP, I think like a Priest, a Hendrick, a Justin Haley, in order to play these guys from way in the back, I feel like there needs to be one of those big restart wrecks that you can occasionally get in a race like this, or just like a good amount of carnage from some source, but it's not really the thing to bank on. I'm probably gonna stay away from most of these guys in the 30s, no matter how good they look, just because it's this track.
Favorite of the group is Gragson?
Yeah, for sure.
Gragson with that weird speed. Somebody asked, who could you lock in a 20 max?
I mean, starting 30th with 80-1 odds. It's like decent.
Is that the lock button?
I mean, I'm not locking any of these guys.
No, I'm not saying to lock, but like in 20 max, I recommend. So let me just be clear.
Oh yeah.
If you're running 20 max, I say this all the time. I back test using the optimizer constantly, and I'm just gonna keep it real, dude. You are not winning a 20 max contest without taking extreme stands on certain drivers. You're just not going to win it. All right. You are not winning that thing. So I firmly believe you need to lock 1 or 2 drivers, maybe 3 in NASCAR, if you want to have any kind of chance of taking down a giant tournament. And it's just that. Now, I'm not going to tell you who to lock, because if everybody who's watching this locks the same fucking guy, you got to lock somebody who's in the nuts. Like, I don't know, but you got to lock somebody who's in the nuts. And the best lock is usually a lower owned guy or a cheaper person, because we no longer need him to dominate the shit out of the race. He just needs to be in the nuts line. And like a Gragson is in the nuts if he finishes 20th.
He could be in the nuts finishing like 22nd if just no one in this range scores well, which it's kind of set up for.
Yeah. Like, he can get there. It's not that difficult of a path for him to get there. It's not like we have, some stud back here who's going to get us there, but it could happen. So I don't know. I don't really have a great lock back here. That would be the closest thing I would say, because of just, if I'm going off of practice speed. Let's see what Brady had to say about Gragson. Like, he's a very big believer in, isn't as fast as practice sheets would imply, but he's fast enough to be playable here. Top 15 upside. Just a quick glance over here. Killer Priest, positive display of PD play, fine. He likes Berry a lot more than I think the field does, which is interesting. And Zane Smith like you. So there's a little consensus there on the Z Smitty play from Brady.
Yeah, and after that, it gets real dicey. If you have to punt all the way down, like you're going for something really expensive, you can play Haley, I guess.
He had the one good finish here.
Look. Yeah, if you're looking at his finishes, his recent 1.5 runs, they're going to look good. That was in colleague equipment. This move down to Rick Ware has odds at 300 to 1. It's not the worst play. It wasn't like the slowest in practice or anything, but don't expect him to run the 20s like he would in college. He's going to probably be happy with like a 25th, but more likely he's going to finish like 25th to 30th in this equipment, as far as I can tell.
For Dooley, who wants to bet this track, I'm deciphering from the Brady notes that the guy you want to bet here.
I kind of liked, what was it, on Prize Picks, I think for like top 10, like Alex Bowman had pretty good odds.
Oh, yeah, I would do that. But I deciphered the Brady notes here for your win pick. And the best combination of odds and win possibilities. Tyler Reddick, 14 to 1. Mm-hmm. So do with that information what you will. Taco, any final thoughts on this breakdown? I'll show the Dom station. Everybody wants to see how to set it up.
Yeah.
I'll show that.
Try to make the shitter rule.
Hang on. So the first thing I'm going to do with the Dom station here is I'm going to unfriend the turds. Okay? I unfriend you. If I've decided that you're not in my crew this week, I'm going to unfriend you. Josh Berry, what's his, playing him.
Briscoe, we're going to unfriend Mr. Briscoe there.
Yeah, I think we got to get rid of.
I know you can't quit LaJoy.
I'm not quitting LaJoy. Fuck that. Nothing good comes from quitting Colo. Nothing good. I'm not interested really in McDowell. I'm going to avoid that. I'm sorry, Chris Buescher. I love you. Sorry. Don't hate me, Chris Buescher.
This is not his track type.
Yeah, I
listen. I wouldn't feel too bad about it.
Dooley's asking for your win pick. Who do you like? It's so lame to say Kyle Larson.
I mean, I said Christopher Bell last week, and he got wrecked on like lap 1, no fault of his own. So
that was brutal.
That was incredibly brutal. I almost want to say him again, but I mean, because realistically, like it's Larson. It's just Larson, but that's lame. That'd be lame of me to just pick Larson. So I'd say, excluding the Hendrick guys, the non-Hendrick guy, I like to really compete and win in this race. Man, it is probably Reddick. I feel like Brady already took that.
Absolutely, Reddick. Listen, you get pretty good odds on Reddick. Everybody loves Reddick. Good play on. Let's see what I did here. So, but a good play on on DraftKings, on FanDuel, and bettable for the win. So here we go, Taco. Financial advice. It is financial advice. Life savings on Hendrick. Don't do that. You can't even make a joke like that, Dooley. Unacceptable. So how do you set up the Dom station to run for this race? I'm making a rule of at least 2 Dominators. I'm going to sort now by Dominators to make sure that I kind of want to do at least 3, but I'm going to add a couple of names to it. I think at least 2 is probably more the way to go. I would add this guy. I'm going to add, I think Kyle Busch is in that group. So I'm going to kind of set up a group where I want probably at least 3. This is just how I'm going to do it. But I think the general rule is going to be at least 2. Let me see who else. Of course, Bowman belongs in that group. So yeah, I'm going to do at least 3, but I'm going to include Bowman in that crew. And I know, Taco, you're shaking your head no, but my mind is telling me no, but my body is telling me yes. From there, I'm doing a lot of R&B references for this one. I don't know if you're not familiar with that stuff. You don't even know what the fuck I'm talking about.
I'm quite familiar.
No, you don't know. You're not familiar with it. Yeah, 50% exposure max. For your 20 max people, I would raise that max exposure to 100% for at least 1 or 2 of these drivers. If you want to go all in on Larson, I'm cool with that. I'm cool with that. Am I wrong? What if I went all in on Larson? 20 max, Taco. Sack up.
I mean, it seems fairly safe.
I don't know if it's safe, but trying to win. Trying to win. You got to load up. Sack up and load up. So yeah, from there, I got it set for at least 2, but I can actually run at least 3 based on what I just did. I'm going to actually give this a run and see what happens. Yeah, see, somebody got it. Fuck yeah. Fuck yeah. What's up, Colleen? Clean slate. What's up? Wait a minute. It's an awesome name. Oh, I thought the first name was... Oh, all right. That's awesome. Okay. If she's not in DFS Army, I want to give her a membership for free. If you're not in DFS Army, I want you in there, Clean slate. She's funny. All right, so that's basically it. Give it a run, sack up, like the guys you like more, get more exposure to them if you want to do that, or if you want to let it control you, that's fine.
I'd say for hit the yes on the show unexposed players.
Yeah, let's see who
you want to do this. You
we're not getting any.
Who's getting excluded?
Yeah,
and like if you're not getting any like Chase Elliott, for example, you should definitely get some Chase Elliott. Throw him in on him.
There it is.
Sure.
Chase Elliott.
Zane Smith also not getting a Zane Smith. Throw him in on him. Boost his projection a little. Get him in there. You always want to make sure you're looking at the people who are being overlooked and missed here.
Got to add some Chase because Brady loves Chase, right? Says he's the fastest of the best group. We're going to raise that up. This is the other thing we're going to do. I'm going to change Taco loves Zane. Okay. Going to raise up that default score. Why am I showing zeros on projected ownership? That's because I had this shit open from yesterday once again. So I'm going to have to reset this anyway, what I just did. This is my domination station from last night. Got to refresh that. But that's the idea. At least 2 dominators for me. If you want to set some extra drivers at the yes, especially the Chastain, Hendrick, Bowman group, then you could go at least 3 dominators, but make sure to include pretty much everybody that you like that's in that starting kind of 25-ish range. And then pick the right turd. Smash the like. Guys, we do this every week. We're breaking down MMA here on the DFS Army channel. We're breaking down NASCAR. We got prize picks videos dropping nonstop. Sleeper videos. NBA every single day. Why are you not subscribed to the channel? You love this stuff. Plus, you laugh when sometimes. Sometimes you laugh at us. Sometimes with us. It's entertainment. Get on here. Check out the channel. We got a lot more good stuff coming to you guys. Good luck today. Take care, everybody.